I'm back. Okay, first of all, an explanation as to why there was no vlog yesterday. From about 9 in the morning until about 5:36 in the afternoon, then I had a break, and then I had to go out in the van again and get my son Brandon from work. I was in a truck all day. Even though my old van is smooth, I love driving and riding in it. It hurts me to sit like that with little bumps. My wife's pickup has overload shocks on it. It's made for carrying a lot of weight or pulling a lot of weight. My van is made for comfort, and boy, you can tell the difference. Church was great today, excuse me. This morning, not many in attendance. We had 15 people there, including the associate pastor. But as I was leaving, I looked, and there's a little church named Liberty Baptist there in Springer, and they had a full house, which I'm thankful for. And the other church in town besides ours had a full house. Our pastor, Larry Fry, is in Texas, I think, taking care of some stuff. And so that's a personal issue of his that I won't go into, but I absolutely am praying for a good outcome on what they're doing for them. Now, let me get a sip. All of you watching this, my second oldest son, Nick, has a bad infection in a toe. Next to that one, they amputated the end of the one. And Tuesday, I have to take him back over to the Indian Hospital in Ada. Today, after I do this vlog, I'm going to go in the house, change clothes, and do a whole lot of nothing the rest of the day. Have 5 more new subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. So that you know who I am, I'm going to give a brief explanation. First and foremost, I am a grandfather. I take that as an obligation, and I take it very seriously. I love my grandchildren. I'm a father and a husband. Who I love more than anybody else in this world is my wife, Linda. We're on up there in age. We're not youngsters anymore. We've been married 46, going on 47 years. I've been in love with her for 47 and a half years. We've had ups and downs, but we've got a very strong marriage, and she is my better half. A lot of people joke about that, but I really mean that. She completes me, and she makes me sane. That, and most of all, God. The other thing, I'm an absolute, unapologetic Christian. I love me some Jesus, let's put it that way. Now, about that trip over there, I'm going to give an anecdote about me 50 years ago. Let me get a sip. I took my son Nicholas over to the hospital, then I came home, took care of some business, then I had to go back, and on the way back over there was a semi, and there was a Winnebago Access, which is a big Winnebago with a truck cab underneath in front. It's got an overhead like the old truck campers, you know, that. But anyway, this Winnebago was drafting on this semi. Now, if you don't know what drafting is, I'm going to explain it with a couple of notebooks. Here's the semi, tractor trailer, 53-foot long trailer, Kenworth cab, red. There's the Winnebago, and it's right about there, and it was trying to maintain that speed, and it was just barely doing it. And as I passed them, I knew that truck driver was mad about it. A lot of people think that when another vehicle drafts on a semi, it doesn't cost that semi fuel. Well, it does if they're the same size as the Winnebago. And this truck that was being drafted was an owner-operator, and so that means he had to pay for his own fuel. Let me get a sip. First of all, drafting is very, very dangerous, especially with another large vehicle behind the truck. And in this state, it is actually illegal. As I drove past them, my van's not a big van. My other old van, the GMC, is a lot bigger than the one I've got now. But the GMC is a 3/4 ton, this one's a 1/2 ton, but this one rides really, really smooth and comfortable. I really enjoy it and believe I was inspired to get it. But as I was driving past them, I looked over at the Winnebago, and there's an old man probably in his 80s in there like this, just scared to death and trying to maintain that draft. Now, what drafting does, it saves fuel on the vehicle behind it because there's no resistance. They're not hitting wind, they're not hitting a wall of wind, so they're saving fuel. I looked at the driver, it was a younger guy, probably in his 40s, and he had that look on his face. Well, I had to go get my son, so I went on and didn't slow down. That brings me to when I was a younger man. Let me get a sip. I had a late friend. I loved him to death, and we were friends up till he died. I'm not going to name his last name. First name was Frank. Super good guy, really good guy. We worked for an outfit in Noble, Oklahoma, N-O-B-L-E, that, and I'm not going to name him in case somebody gets a hold of him. I don't know if he's still in business or not, but he made shell campers for pickups. They're the little camper that goes on back, and twice a week Frank and I would load up a 40-foot flat trailer, and we'd boom down what we did is we put tarps in a way that the tarp wouldn't come undone, and we used chains and softboards, which were pine boards that went on pads that were sewn into the tarps, and we'd boom that down with chains and a boomer, and we'd tie the boomer off, and that way it was really solid and well done. And this one, and we went from Noble, Oklahoma to Phoenix, Arizona twice a week. That's a lot of traveling. It's a long way out there. And this one time, now I gotta, let me do this. Hang on. Oh man. I'm not gonna turn the volume off of my speaker right now. I should, but I just got notified someone. Oh, that's right, I shut the chime off. That'd work. Anyway, we were en route to Phoenix, Arizona. We were on Interstate 10 and coming in toward Phoenix, and there was a guy in a big boxy Winnebago, a little bigger than the one I saw yesterday afternoon, and it was one of the types that did not have a truck cab underneath it. It was all just one big box, and this guy stayed on our bumper for about 20 miles. And here's what you need to know about my friend Frank. He was a former Army Ranger, and he was a Golden Gloves boxer when he was younger. And Frank was probably 5'8", 150 pounds dripping wet. He and I were great friends. He said, this guy ain't going to get off our bumper, only he used a different word. And he stopped right in the middle of I-10 where it was a 2-lane rather than a 4-lane. And the guy barely stopped in time. Frank got out, and I'm looking out the driver's mirror. I was in the passenger seat. It was his turn to drive. And we were in a really uncomfortable semi anyway. It was a white cab over. White's the name of the company that makes it. And we hated that truck. But because we were the most experienced drivers, the boss made us drive the junk equipment because he knew we would keep it from totally breaking down. Guy was a cheapskate. Anyway, Frank gets out, and I'm looking over there, and this guy that was in the Winnebago was probably about 6'5" if he was an inch, and probably weighed 350, 400 pounds, and he was not fat. That's when I realized I needed to get out of the truck. So I get out my side and I walk back around, and there's this young lady in the passenger side of that Winnebago that had the ugliest smirk on her face. My man's gonna clean the road up. Well, Frank said something to the guy, and the guy threw a punch at him, which was his undoing. I looked back at the young woman, and she, like that, like she was happy this was going to happen. She didn't expect what happened next. Frank got the guy somehow on the ground, just like in the movies of Ip Man, had him down, and I literally could not see Frank's hands move as he was pounding the stuffings out of this guy's face. The guy was trying to get him off, didn't do any good. Frank was half this guy's size and probably less than that in body weight, and he tore the dude up. Now, what's the point of this story? Well, I'm going to tie it into a lesson we had in Sunday school. We're supposed to follow peace with all men, and we all fall short of that. None of us are righteous, not one of us. I finally calmed Frank down, got him off the guy, and he's just laying there with his hands laying out like that, stunned. And the gal in the truck was screaming. And I told Frank, you know, we need to just go. And I made him ride in the passenger seat so he could clean up his knuckles, because they were bleeding. He hit this dude hard. And so I put it in low. We took off, did my shifting till we were at cruising speed, and I drove us on into Phoenix. But the thing is, we're supposed to follow peace with all men. Does that mean we just let someone stomp all over us? No. Our associate pastor was talking about being a peacemaker, and he said that he does not like confrontations, and he likes to he would like to calm people down. Does that make him a peacemaker? Well, not really. My point being, we all fall short of being righteous. All of us. I'm not a righteous man. I've been accused of being righteous. I'm telling you right now, I'm not. I'm a sinner, just like everybody that's watching this. But I do have some gifts from my Savior and my Father. And the biggest one is my wife. She owns me. And then I have sons and daughters and grandkids. And it's all good. Now, one more thing to tell the folks watching this. I'm the kind of guy that if I see a turtle crossing the road, I will stop, get out of my van on a walking cane, walk over and help that turtle across the road to whichever side it's going to. Do it whenever the turtle's there out running. I'm not a G-rated person, but I keep this channel G-rated. Why? Because my mom watches these. And I will not use coarse language or be ugly in front of her or my sister that watches these or any of my grandkids that watch these. So I keep these podcasts G-rated. I want you to know, I don't know, probably do not know any of the 8 new subscribers I got. I hope you stay subscribed. If you don't, that's fine. If you don't like seeing some crippled old man talk about God, that's fine too. But I want you to know that I love you. If I've met you, know that I love you. If I met you and I was ugly to you, I ask your forgiveness, because that's not who I am anymore. But I want you to know that you need to be thankful to God every day for drawing breath, because you're blessed just by virtue of being alive. And like the sign right there says, be kind. Always be kind. Know that I love you, I want God to bless you, and be kind. Bye.